Today I'm going to be covering two different posts about dates to make things fair. The first post is called Fellas, what was your F this I'm out on a first date? And the second one, Women of Reddit, what's the worst date you've ever been on? The original poster on the first post shares their own story, so we'll start with that. In 2012, I was 19 and went on a date with this girl we'll call Kaylee. She was 18. Kaylee and I were talking for about 2 weeks before I decided to send it and ask her on a date, which I was pumped about because she was down for it. Fast forward to our date night, when I picked her up from her place, she was absolutely glued to her cell phone. When she got in and I pulled out, I asked her, what do you want to listen to? We still have a bit of a drive ahead of us. She said, whatever, I don't care, and was still glued to her phone. This didn't really bother me because, yeah, we had an hour drive ahead. So we get to the restaurant and I leave my phone in my car. We get in, get seated, and she's still face deep in her cell. After we got our drinks, she finally got off her cell and we talked for a few minutes. Didn't last long, once her phone lit up, she got right back on it. So I sat there, in silence, and decided, yeah, f this. I decided to say something on the lines of, can you stay off your phone long enough to have an actual conversation? And she hit me with, 1 second. I was floored. Our waiter came back and took our orders, but I was done with that day. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, when in actuality, I went to my waiter and asked for the bill. Dude was confused because our food hadn't come yet. I told the guy I wasn't feeling it anymore. I told him I'd give him a $50 tip if he'd bring her food out and put mine into a takeout bag where the hostess was. Dude was just stoked to make $50, I think. I went back to our table and, shocker, she was tweeting. A few minutes go by and the food comes. Well, hers. And he made up some BS about it'll be a few more minutes, but gave me the nod that it was by the hostess. So I excused myself again, acted like I was going to the bathroom, got my food, and left. It took nearly 45 minutes to realise that I never came back from the bathroom. I was about to pull into my driveway when she texted me, where are you? I didn't answer, and a few minutes later she called me. Hey chief, where you at? Oh, I left. About to pull into my driveway. Ha, that's funny. But seriously, where are you? I'm about to pull into my driveway. It hit her that I legit left. It threw her 100% into a nice girl tantrum. Once that started, I just hung up. I started getting more wild ass texts and calls. The funniest one was, I'm calling the police. Okay, cool, no crime was committed, so waste their time I guess. When she realised I wasn't going to answer anymore, I guess she had one of her friends come get her. Obviously, I never heard from her again, but man did she start tweeting about me real quick. He adds a comment and says, I was 19 and understand that was a thing to do now. But honestly, I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. You told her it was a problem and she continued to ignore you. Okay, first from the women's post by Glitchykins. I said I was short, joking about something. I'm 5'2". He started to argue with me that I wasn't as we got out of the car. He, 6 foot something, grabbed me, picked me up, slammed me on the parking lot floor, and held me down until I said I wasn't short. I was so speechless for several seconds and then said, whatever. It was my first ever date, and we'd ridden in his car, so I wasn't entirely sure what to do. I was 16. We went into a Chick-fil-A, and after we sat, he started talking about how he could force me to feel specific emotions using his mind, and wouldn't shut up about the old crush he had on a girl who used to be my friend. I rushed everything so he would take me home. On the way, he takes a weird turn down a road that leads to a dark spot covered by a bridge. I tried to discreetly open the car door, but found out it had child locks on, so I was stuck. He started to take his seatbelt off and lean over. Thankfully, a car showed up behind us and he started grumbling about it. He started the car back up and finally just took me home. The very next day, I went to school and warned my friends, and especially warned my ex-friend, and I made sure to never see him again. We all hate Patrick. Yeah, there's something seriously wrong with that guy. Maybe he thought that holding you down and screaming at you that you weren't short was supposed to be making you feel good about yourself. Back to the guy's post. Next one is by Exciting Half. She told me some friends were coming over with cocaine, and since they didn't know me, I needed to leave. He expands on this in the comments. I guess it wasn't really a date. I used to work at the campus bar and she was a regular. I was out at a different bar and she was there. We hung out and she invited me back to her place. I went, and soon after I arrived, some people came over and I got kicked out because they wanted to do cocaine. So then I went to another bar and I bumped into another female regular. We got drunk and she invited me back to her place. So I went. We both passed out on her roommate's floor. I think she wasn't really into me and didn't want me in her bedroom. I was too drunk anyway, but we slept next to each other on the floor, fully clothed. I pissed myself in the middle of the night, getting it all over her and her roommate's carpet. Obviously, she got angry. I went home at like 8 AM or something. It was a weird night. Fortunately, both regulars failed out of university that semester and went back home, and I never saw them again. Well, that sounds like the best possible outcome. I feel like you experienced both sides of the "f this I'm out" here. The next girl's post is by Chance Time. He was a lawyer and brought out paperwork for me to sign in the middle of dinner because he wanted me to be a witness on his case. Toward the end of dinner, he said he has the right to say whatever he wants. Then he said the N-word. What? I was all but running out the door at the end, but he insisted on walking me to my car where he kissed me. I jerked away and he grabbed the back of my neck and tried to shove his tongue in my mouth. I don't do online dating anymore. In the comments, Bright Nublar says, "This sounds like the dating equivalent of someone bombing their interview to stay on unemployment." The next guy's post is by NPE. I went to a party as the guest of a lady who lived at a church-related boarding house at the university that we both attended. During a group conversation, she and some of the girls who lived in the house started making fun of a math professor from a class that a couple of them were taking. He had diabetes, was blind, and had bilateral below-knee amputations, and taught the class in a wheelchair. They started laughing about how ridiculous he looked while teaching the class, and acted out scenarios of him trying to work out problems on a blackboard. They didn't know that I knew the professor, as he was a member of the church that I went to, and I thought of him as fairly heroic under the circumstances. While the girl who had asked me to the party started in on the merrymaking, I walked out of the room, got my coat, and left the party. I'm speechless. Honestly, that's totally despicable. Chief in the comments says, "People like that think it's all fun and games until things like that happen to them." The next girl's post is by Jay. A guy picked me up on his motorcycle to take me back to his place. He pulled up to a shed by the house, so I could get off and he could store the bike. Right? Wrong. This shed was his room. He invited me in where there was only one place to sit, a recliner, which he sat in. My mistake, because the other place to sit was his lap, which he alerted me to. I chose to crouch instead. He shared his airplane bottle of mouthwash flavoured vodka with me, and within maybe 15 minutes said I looked like I wanted him to kiss me. What I wanted was to pee, so he took me to the house on the property, which was his mum's. She was on the couch watching TV. When I came out of the bathroom, he ushered me from the couch to sit and chat with his mum. I used our initial agreement to request a ride home shortly after that. The next day, I texted something along the lines of feeling we were incompatible and wishing him well. He said, "Your loss." I feel like age is a really considerable factor here, but regardless, you have to admire his confidence. Back to the guy's post, and next is Nuevo Torero. Had a date 8 years ago, which was a friend of a friend. Never had a blind date before like that, but hey, what's the worst that can happen? We go out for drinks, she shows up a little heavier, but hey, maybe she's nice. She proceeds to complain about her job, and eat the paint off the table. Like, she's scraping the lacquer or whatever off the table with her nails and crunching down on it. I jokingly say, "This place has good food, you want me to get you something?" She snaps back with, "I eat paint all the time." I go to the bathroom to text for a lift as I'd taken the bus, but no dice. When I explain I'm leaving, she offers me a ride home. Not wanting a long walk, I accept, but have her drop me off 3 blocks from my actual place. While dropping me off, she insists she should come inside so we can hang. The second she stops, I bolt out the door and through the backyard of the house we're in front of. I always hoped she didn't go back. That could have been forgivable if she wasn't almost confidently proud of it. Oh, I eat paint all the time. Who the would be on board with that? Onto the girls post, and there's also a blind date by Curious Open Mind. A friend fixed me up with her newly single cousin, a blind date. She claimed he'd be perfect for me. We met in a pub, and for nearly 2 hours he talked about nothing but himself, solidly. His life, job, his workout routine, his political opinion, and so on. He never asked me a single question, and I couldn't get a word in. Every time I tried to speak, he held up his hand to silence me. The last thing he said to me was, "Anyway, are we going back to yours or mine later?" I was so annoyed and disgusted with his arrogance that I just said, "Excuse me," and walked out. I've not spoken to that friend since. I've no idea why she thought I would like that man. Awful. It was quite a while ago, but it really put me off. At least in the last post, she just needed to stop eating paint. He sounds fundamentally undateable. No wonder you never spoke to your friend again. Being set up with a guy like that is pretty insulting. The next guy's post is by Kitten Tarantino. She was so self-deprecating. Like, comical levels of shitting on every part of her life that I asked her about. Hated her degree, hated her friends, hated dating, hated hobbies, hated small talk, hated big talk, hated TV, hated movies. The date ended up just being a therapy session where I kind of felt bad. In the comments, Dig Bug says, "That's not self-deprecating, that's self-loathing. Self-deprecating is recognising your foibles and making fun of yourself. Sounds more like she just hated everything and wasn't joking." And the final post today is by Emerald Mist. My mother thought it a grand idea to set me up with her guy friend's son, who was 4 years older than me. I was 17. He took me to Hardee's and proceeded to talk about how amazingly wonderful he was. In great detail, I learned how great he was at Taekwondo, how smart he is. It was endless. He finally took me home after 3 hours in Hardee's. Then he wouldn't leave. I finally had to just fake fall asleep in my bed. But instead of leaving, he crawled in next to me and went to sleep. For fuck's sake, my mum checked on me the next morning, found him there but said nothing. It woke him up though, so he tried to, on the down low, wake me up by coughing. Nope, eyes glued shut, breathing still even. Get the out dude, good grief. My mum laughed when it was finally safe for me to emerge and tell her all about it. That ended her ever getting involved with me finding a boyfriend. We still refer to a guy trying to drown you in his wondrousness as getting jerried. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.